What is going on, guys? Jason Burke here, Styles Clash for Life, coming at you on YouTube, and today I've got some football focus. I am here once again, Steeler fans, to recap from a Steeler perspective the Week 15 matchup between the Pittsburgh Steelers and Cincinnati Bengals. This obviously is one of the hottest new rivalries in the NFL. It's kind of almost usurped the Steelers-Ravens rivalry as Pittsburgh's top rival. They, of course, are division foes in the AFC North, and Pittsburgh miraculously came back in the playoff game last January with the Bengals' penalty meltdowns to take the Bengals out of the playoffs last year. The hard-hitting, the injuries, the close games has made this Pittsburgh's biggest rivalry, and this game was also a very close, hard-hitting, penalty-laden contest that was really a game of two halves. So again, for you guys catching up football fans, this was the Week 15 game, Steelers versus Bengals, second game of the season for these two teams. Pittsburgh did win the first game, and the result of this one was the same. I got my notes here I'm looking at, that's why I keep looking to the side. Pittsburgh gets the win 24-20. And the first half of this game to watch, Pittsburgh fans, was maddening. This first half was so frustrating. The Bengals just held the ball a lot, had a lot of extended drives. Pittsburgh moved the ball throughout the entire first half, but could only get field goals. Weren't really, just committing dumb penalties and just shooting themselves in the foot. The Bengals held the ball a lot. Pittsburgh couldn't really get any penetration. I guess breaking this down slowly, the Bengals got up early on and were up handily in the first half for the most part. Pittsburgh did have some costly penalties in the first half. They wound up with, I think, 7 penalties for 105 yards, something like that. That has to change. Very undisciplined early on in this game. It did get better in the second half, but still, several penalties here that need to be addressed. At one point, there was a third down stop in the end zone. Pittsburgh got on the Bengals, and Artie Burns was called rightfully for a pass interference call. A Pittsburgh Roethlisberger to Antonio Brown touchdown, which would have put us within 7 points in the first half. That was called back on a very late chop block call on Le'Veon Bell. That cost us points. There was a couple of real dumb holding calls. David DeCastro got at least 2 holding calls in this game. I love DeCastro. He's one of the best guards and best line players in the NFL, but he gets penalized a lot on holding calls. He has to watch that. Maybe change his high technique a little bit because he's been getting called a lot recently, and he got called at least twice here, if not 3 times, for costly penalties. So Pittsburgh getting themselves out of field goal range, not being able to capitalize on touchdown opportunities. And on defense, 2 big things. The secondary wasn't really good or bad today. It was just sort of there. They didn't play necessarily well, but they also didn't get torched a lot, besides the Artie Burns play. But at the same time, they weren't getting any pressure in the first half, really. And a couple times they did, Dalton was able to step aside and get out of there. And also, they weren't able to clog holes. I mean, Jeremy Hill got a couple of bursts there, and then once he got hurt, Rex Burkhead was coming through, making plays, running the ball. So you think this Bengals team has not been good this year. They're mathematically eliminated from the playoffs now. They're not going to be a playoff team this year. They've had a very disappointing season. And to think that they came into this game as bad as they were this year without A.J. Green, who didn't play today, Jeremy Hill getting banged up and getting out of the game, and not having Gio Bernard in there either. Rex Burkhead and Brandon LaFell stepped up and played pretty well today. So not a lot of weapons or options, but they maintained a nice lead in the first half. Pittsburgh gets 3 first half field goals. So Bengals wind up being up in the first half 20-9. And Pittsburgh has to scratch and claw back in the second half. So the Bengals get no first half punts. They don't get stopped at all. They score every drive in the first half with long, sufficient drives. Couple of plays by several different guys. The main guy today, like I said, Burkhead I think had 60 yards or so. But the main guy today was Brandon LaFell, who I think I didn't write his stats down, but I think had 7 catches for 91 yards, something like that. So very effective out there. He was able to beat Burns across the middle a couple times. He was beating Cockrell a couple times. He played pretty well out there for the Bengals. But all in all, for the Steelers, pretty good day on offense. Eventually they come down with several more field goals. They finally get a turnover. They force a few punts. And again, Bengals were up 20-9 in the first half. Final score is 24-20, so that tells you the Bengals did not get a single point in the second half. The Steelers outscore the Bengals in the second half 15-0. The Bengals do not even get in field goal range the entire second half. I think 3 or 4 punts, 1 turnover. They just get shut down completely. Meltdown with penalties as well. On offense for the Steelers, Big Ben finishes 21 of 36, 286 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. He did have a second touchdown to Brown that was called back, but he did get the go-ahead touchdown to Eli Rogers. So Ben, 21 of 36 for 286, no turnovers, very solid game, good bounce back, nice job. Le'Veon Bell ends his 4-game 100-yard streak for the Steelers here, but does get very close with 24 carries for 93 yards, 7 yards off the mark, but also gets 5 catches for 38 yards as well, so goes well over 100 yards total again this week. He's probably going to lead the league in total yards by the end of this year. He played a very solid game. Got stifled in the first half, good Bengals defense, good pressure, but Le'Veon Bell had some nice 7, 8, 9-yard carries rack up in the second half. Receiving the leader today, Eli Rogers steps up finally. Didn't do much in the first half and had a lot of big conversion catches and the big go-ahead touchdown catch to put the Steelers ahead in the fourth quarter. Finishes with 5 catches for 75 yards and a touchdown. Ladarius Green also gets a big third down conversion to help end this game. Winds up with 5 catches for 72 yards as well. He's been huge in the last 5 weeks since coming back from his injury. So Rogers steps up. Green does what he's been doing. Antonio Brown also finishes with about, I think, 5 catches for about 58 yards, something like that, and had the touchdown that was called back. So lots of good options today for the Steelers. Colby Hamilton with a 22-yard third down conversion catch was nice. They did get Sammy Coates a couple of plays. I think he had 1 or 2 handoff plays, like reverse runs. Also had a couple catches. They did go downfield to him a lot, but he didn't catch anything downfield. In the first half, I was screaming, somebody get open besides Brown and Green. Ben's back there looking for days. He has a lot of time because of this line, and he can't find anybody open because aside from Brown and Green, many guys weren't getting open. But like I said, in the second half, Hamilton with a big catch, 4 big second half catches for Eli Rogers. So pretty solid day by the offense. Again, Ben with 286. On defense, the names that I wrote down, Lawrence Timmons, I think had 5 tackles today, tied for the team lead in tackles once again. Also a big interception to go ahead and put us within a 1-score game, which led us to a field goal. Timmons with several plays in the backfield, a couple of hits that disrupted throws besides his 5 tackles, good quarterback hits, played solid in coverage, and got the big interception, so big day for Timmons. James Harrison again, a huge day. He winds up getting a couple of assisted plays in the backfield, 5 more tackles. Winds up playing defensive end because we had a big injury in Stephon Tuitt. You guys already know Hargrave's been hurt. He came back today, which was big. But Cam Hayward's out for the season. And now both Stephon Tuitt and his replacement today, Ricardo Matthews, both got injured. Waiting to hear back on those guys. I hope they're both okay. Tuitt's a big difference maker on this defense, so I hope those guys are all right. But James Harrison wound up playing on the end, playing defensive lineman today at the DN position. Played very, very well. So great game for James Harrison. Ryan Shazier once again popping in there. Several run stuffs in the middle of the field, clogged up the middle of the defense, which was big for us in the second half, which we didn't have in the first half. I think he had 4 or 5 tackles. Also a sack today, continuing our nice sack streak for the last 5 weeks. So big sack for Shazier. And then Chris Boswell. Big ups to Boswell. I don't mention special teams too often today. Special teams did not do very well on stopping returns. I can't think of the Bengals returner's name, but he had 3 or 4 big returns on us. We've got to get more sure with our tackling and special teams. But the positive, Chris Boswell, man, 6 for 6 today. 6 field goal attempts, 6 makes, including 3 from 49 yards, which is just 2 yards off his career high of 51. So 49-yard field goals, 3 for 3 today. 6 for 6 overall. Boswell is the MVP of the game today. If not for him scoring his 18 points, we wouldn't have been close in this game. If he was off today, we'd have lost by a mile. So all in all, defense doesn't allow a point in the second half, plays very well at the linebacker position. Coverage guys do okay. Ben and Bell do well. Again, Rogers steps up big. Boswell's the key to this game. Final score, after a 15-0 Steelers second half, they go up and win 24-20 on the Big Ben to Rogers touchdown. Bengals are out of the playoffs now. Ravens did win today as well, so the Steelers improve to 9-5. My predictions for going 7-0 in the last 7 games, I'm now 5-0. I predicted 7-0 in the last 7 weeks. I'm 5 for 5 so far. I've got 2 more to go. Ravens and Steelers next week on Christmas Day. I will be bringing you guys that video. It won't be around the same time right after the game as I usually do. I'll be out somewhere at a party for Christmas. But I'll bring you guys that video either on the day of or the day after. But next week for the AFC North, big game. Steelers at 9-5 are one game ahead of the 8-6 Ravens. So if the Ravens win, will be tied record-wise, and they'll be ahead in tiebreakers. If the Steelers win, they are the AFC North champions. I'm predicting a Steelers win. What do you guys think for next week? How are your fantasy teams doing? Because mine's in the playoffs, but it's losing right now, so it needs to win. And what do you guys think of this game? Who stood out to you guys? Offense, defense, who did what? How big of a bonehead is Vontaze Burfict and Dre Kirkpatrick? What do you guys think of Pac-Man Jones? Give me some Bengals feedback in the bottom, too. Tell me in the comments, guys. Until next week, your Steelers are 9-5. They've won 5 in a row, and I will see you guys very soon. Merry Christmas, my Steeler friends.